Good. How are you?
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's Board of Selectmen meeting. Today is Monday, July 10th, 2017. It's 6:30. It's time for our meeting. First order of business is Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
We do mean all.
We do. All right, item number 2 is acceptance of minutes. We have the minutes of June 19th, 2017. Mr. Siganovich.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the minutes of June 19th.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Siganovich, second by Mr. Joseph. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. One note, Mr. Sullivan is excused for this evening. Okay, 4-0. Next up is minutes of June 26, 2017. Mr. Joseph.
They're okay. I'm going to move that we accept them as printed. Second.
Motion by Mr. Joseph, second by Mr. Ruda. No, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, guys. Item number 3, we have appointments and resignations. We have one appointment. We have for the Council on Agent, Donna M. Mandalinakis, with the term to expire 6/30 of 2020. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
Wow, ooh, good. Come on up.
Oh.
Yeah.
Don't bite, okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Just state your name for the record and what you'd like to do.
Okay, Donna Mendelinakis and Council on Aging.
And tell me a little bit about yourself and your background and what you'd like to...
Okay, I've lived in Dudley for about almost 40 years. My husband and I used to own a donut shop in Webster for 15, 20 years. Was a pharmacy tech at Rite Aid for another 13 years. Now I'm retired. I have lots of free time.
Free time you'd like to give back to your community.
Yes.
Very cool. Board members, anything?
No, I'm just,
Oh.
it's really nice to see someone step forward. I've been thinking about this off and on this week, how many positions we have to fill. And people don't realize it's not a burden on their time, and the contribution to the community, in this case, to our seniors, is not only appreciated by us, but it's deeply appreciated by them. I just want to thank you for volunteering to come forward. God bless you.
Well, thank you. And I didn't realize that there was a position open till like maybe a month ago,
Yeah?
or I would have volunteered a lot before this.
We're glad you did.
Okay, thank you.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Ruda.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the appointment with a term to expire of 6/30/2020.
Motion by Mr. Ruda. Is there a
Second.
By Mr. Siganovich. More discussion?
Could I just
Sure.
thank you for coming forward and volunteering?
Okay, well, thank you very much.
I'll
Have a good evening.
those. Well, we're gonna vote.
Oh, okay. Well, oh, okay.
You never know.
Sorry.
I'm just kidding. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Unanimous. Thank you, Donna. Hey, we have a little fun too.
The motion was to, a term to expire on June 30th, 2020. Was that the motion?
Correct.
Okay,
That's right.
thank you.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you,
thank
Donna.
you.
Thank you for coming forward. Okay, item number 4 is public comments. Is there anything on tonight's agenda that anybody would like to talk about that's not on tonight's agenda? And Mr. Bazinet is making his way to the microphone, so yes. Accompanied by Mr. Ducharme and Mr. Braniff, too.
Fresh off the press.
Thank you.
It's a draft copy, so they don't.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
Thank
You guys share that one. I'm gonna send you.
Oh, there it is. I haven't seen this yet.
What day of the week is that, Ed?
Saturday.
Saturday.
Well, let Mr. Bazinet tell us all
Fun
about
day.
it.
Bring the kiddos up. We're hoping we may have an encampment. So for the folks at home that don't know what we're talking about, it's a dedication of the new monument on the town common. So we will have a dedication at 4:30 in the afternoon, the 12th of August. And part of that was something I was having a discussion with Maurice Healy from the Sons of Civil War Veterans, and we decided, you know, the Gray Whisker Pickers are going to be here that day at 5 o'clock at the barn, and that's always a fun event. I said, so we've got two things together, and now it looks like we can probably get a Civil War encampment, or not a big one maybe, but some reasonable scale to give you a sense of what it's like, and that'll start at 11 in the morning. So they'll be up on the common, you know, bring the kids out, come see what it looks like to have where their tents are set up. They'll have a little fire going. We dig a hole right in the common, have a fire. I said, oh, we can do that. That's not a problem. And then they put the sod back after, of course. It's going to be a great day. You know, we just hope it's really sunny. But there'll be things for families to come and see. I suggest, you know, come on up, bring your lunch. If you didn't pack a lunch, just swing by a Subway on the way. You know, like we all do. Bring a blanket, sit around, and spend the afternoon. And then there'll be a service commemorating the 155th anniversary of the death of Frank Corbin, who was a Dudley, they call him a Dudley boy here, served in the Civil War. And they're going to do that service at Corbin Cemetery at 4 o'clock. And then they'll march up from Corbin. It'll be very similar to what goes on Memorial Day for us. And they'll come on up to the Common, and then we'll have the 4:30 dedication of the new monument, which is to the 6 Dudley guys that were at Andersonville Prison. And that's the new monument. You know, you can see the picture, if you haven't been up there, that now says, ooh, Dudley Town Common, you've arrived. So we're here. We could actually ask you to give us a hearty endorsement. And the guys were worried about doing a fire on the Common. I said, not an issue. But I do need to have somebody paint the flagpole. So that's your bailiwick. So you're in the deal.
Mr.
And
Chairman,
come up there.
Mr. Ruda.
I'll move that we heartily endorse the Town Common celebration scheduled for August 12th, 2017, including the Civil War reenactment encampment, the 154th commemoration of the death of Frank Corbin, and the dedication finally of the Dudley Town Common Monument.
By Mr. Ruda,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Siganovich. Paul?
Yeah, people should know that the newest monument commemorates the 6 Dudley residents who survived, or who were incarcerated
We're incarcerated, right?
at the notorious Andersonville. You take our current Gitmo, or take the North Vietnamese prison camp that Senator John McCain from Arizona barely survived, and none of them were as, or are as, or were as harsh as Andersonville. At that time, there was no agreement like we have today. There was no code of conduct. There were no obligations. And there's a good book, and I'm trying to think if it's by David McCullough or not, regarding Andersonville Prison and what it was like, and it just makes the hair on your arm stand up when you read it. So these people did what very few others had to endure. So that's what, and that's the backside of the monument
Yes.
being dedicated. on
That's
August 12th.
the piece that we're dedicating. When we applied for a grant from the State Veterans Association on monuments, and they paid for at least half of this project. And then we applied for a grant from the Janet Malzer Trust. They paid for another chunk of that. We're going to be And if you've been by there, you can see there's yellow tape around where we're working. It's been dug out. Ramco dug out the area for us, poured the footing for the monument. Mercer came and dropped the monument on it. And we are now at the stage where we're taking the facade from the Stevens Mill that we had removed, palletized, and brought to the Highway Department. And that's going to be laid as a patio effect around the monuments, including the flagpole. And we will have 2 or 3 interpretive plaques in place. That's left over from a Dudley Women's Club Historical Commission Black Tavern program from 2 or 3 years ago, which was the scavenger hunt. So all of these things, we've been kind of putting our eggs in a basket here. They're now coming to fruition in one big event on that day.
John, since we don't have a huge agenda tonight, I'd like to also add that whether you're a lifelong resident of Dudley or a newcomer to Dudley, you cannot escape the fact that you live here and you have an opportunity to establish your roots, give your children roots, but also to give them wings of being educated and understanding the past. And even if you're a recent arrival, that these 6 people are part of your roots because you're a resident of Dudley. Bring the kids, and I'm not trying to hype this, I'm just being honest. It's a chance to witness firsthand Dudley's roots, and I'm sure that the representatives, the reenactors from the Massachusetts 15th can talk about the history of Dudley residents in the Massachusetts 15th, which is a part of the route that the people who did that can no longer talk. So the research by the reenactors will speak for them.
Well, speaking of roots, the roots
Bob.
go way back because 2 of these soldiers were Native Americans.
Great opportunity.
Yeah, we're hoping maybe we can get the Nipmuc Nation to send some representatives to this event
Nice.
also. 2 out of 6. That's a pretty high group that was involved. So it's nice to see this, you know. And I will say Mercer did a fabulous job with getting that monument in there. They did it so quickly that people that lived on the hill didn't know what was happening, and I was on my way up, and by the time I got there, it was already done, and I went, wow. But it looks great, and it's going to be so
we
much
vote on
more
this?
exciting.
Let's do that.
Before we do that, I just want to say thank you guys as all for helping keep Dudley's history alive. I can't say that enough. And I'll speak for all you guys that we support what you guys do.
Good.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks,
Support
Bob.
your town.
Welcome, Dave.
And I have to take a step back for a minute, guys. Under appointments of resignations, we actually had another resignation I wanted to let everybody know about. Jerry Jeffrey has resigned from the Dudley Board of Library Trustees effective immediately. So that means there will be an opening. So that requires a joint appointment between the library commissioners and the Board of Selectmen. So if anybody is interested in serving on the library Board of Trustees, Greg, where should I send?
Please let us know, or if they prefer, they can go directly to the library and apply through.
Go to the library and apply, or you can reach out to the Selectman's office.
That's another real good board. Anytime you don't hear about a board means they're a good
It is a
board.
good board. So thank you, Jerry, for your service. Okay. All right, anything else on the agenda that's not, anybody wants to talk about that's not on? Oh, moving on. Town Administrator's report.
I have some things under public business that I'll talk about, so I'll defer.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Item 6 is around town, focusing on local businesses. We were going to discuss a format change, Greg.
So I've been approached by some local residents who live in Dudley, but may have businesses outside of Dudley. And in the past, we've brought in people who are businessmen, businesswomen in Dudley, They don't necessarily have to live in Dudley, but they've had a business here. And the question came up, it seemed logical that if someone lived in Dudley and they wanted to have an around-town session, whether we would entertain that or not. And I wanted to bring that to the board and see whether you thought that was okay.
I think it's great
Well.
to expand the concept.
Harry?
I think it is as well. I think if someone lives in Dudley, has a business outside of Dudley, that might open up network opportunities. Not only that, we might be able to, if we have them in front of us, we might encourage them to,
Entice them to come here.
exactly, entice them to come here, open a branch or move here. It couldn't hurt.
Good?
Okay. It's fine with me.
Yeah, fine with me too, Greg. Do you want us to vote on that, or is it?
No, there's no reason to vote.
Good, I like the idea. Thanks. We have no public hearings tonight. First item under public business, section 8, Susan Etheridge is back. We have an amended easement agreement. This is about Klondike Road. We tabled this from June 19th. Welcome back, ladies. Gentlemen. Okay, and so Greg, where do we stand?
So one of the things that we had not had was a thorough review of the document by council. And when the document was originally presented to the town under item number 2, there's some additional language that's been added, and I would ask the proponent to kind of highlight what that is. And that would be the only major change, and that would be satisfactory to the board, that I would suggest that you consider it for approval this evening.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Ruda?
this has gone through town council?
Not yet. It's gone to him, and I would suggest that if we vote it, you vote it subject to town council's final approval. It's gone to him, he just hasn't responded back.
So town council approves this the way it is?
No, what I'm saying is we want town council to sign off on it.
All right.
Has he had it for a while, Craig?
June 21st?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Joseph.
I'm going to move that the board approves the easement agreement on Klondike Road for Susan Etheridge, and that the document be dated, what's today, the 10th?
10th.
7/10/17, subject to approval by town council.
Motion by Mr. Joseph. We have a second? Second. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman, as much as now it's in our hands, our fault that we can't seem to motivate town council to look at the document and get back to us in a timely manner, I'm not gonna vote for this motion, unfortunately, because the reason we're here is because I asked the town council to look at it to begin with. So, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna support the motion. I will support it the minute town council has taken a look at it, but not until then.
So town council will look at it in the best interest of the town.
Correct.
So why would you not approve it pending review and approval by town council?
Because the original premise of giving this to town council was to have him look at it before I approved it.
But my motion would still require that.
When he looks at it, I'll approve it. I'll vote to approve it.
That's what the motion says.
The motion says pending his approval, so there's no need for a vote right now.
I don't agree.
As far as I'm
The motion safeguards the town.
To me, pending approval means it's a useless vote because he hasn't looked at it until the approval, until he's looked at it.
That's why the motion says pending his approval, review and approval.
Well, we disagree on
If
that.
he doesn't approve it, then the motion stands because our approval is only pending his review and approval.
I understand.
Okay, I don't agree.
Any other discussion?
So,
Mr. Sigenovich?
may I? Let me ask this. What if, so if this motion goes forward, they can't do it?
They can't do anything till town
They can't-
council reviews it and approves it.
So if town council says, I don't like this part, change it to this. Or if town council says, I don't like this. I'm just asking, if we approve this, pending town council, I just want to make sure we get this right the first time, that's all I'm.
If he changes it, then the motion to approve has to come back up for any changed document. It's a safeguard, there's nothing unusual about it. If a comma changes in this document, it has to come back to us because it's not the document we approved.
What if we supported this in principle, Paul, pending Gary's review?
I mean,
Instead of-
that's semantics. I don't know why John's got a hair across his butt on this one, because
Paul.
it's a safe motion.
Paul, we're talking about 5 lines for 21 days he's had this.
It's a safe motion. If he makes no changes, is there anything in this document you want to change as it
I
is?
haven't heard from town council yet.
Is there anything you want to change?
Oh, but that's why I sent it to town council, because I'm not an attorney.
That's what the motion says. I don't know what the deal is. I have no idea. All I know is the motion says that if he reviews it and approves it, it's okay with us. Is that not a true statement? Then why the games? What's the deal? If he doesn't approve it as it is, it comes back to us changed for another vote because it's a different document. I don't understand.
Because if it takes them another 60 days to do it, they can't do anything with it anyway.
You can't,
So.
That's not
well,
likely.
I don't see the issue.
That's not
with
likely.
Either
voting
way,
on it until he
right.
is looked at.
Either
okay,
way.
it's a safe motion.
Can I ask
Go
another?
ahead,
Do we know how long
we're in discussion.
town council is going to have this for? Has he given us any idea?
June 21st.
Oh, how much longer he's going to take on this? Has he given us any idea?
I think there was some issues related to vacation scheduling. So, to me, it's a document that can be reviewed in a day. I can't speculate whether it's 15 minutes, 2 hours, but a day. There's no reason why it can't be done.
Anything else, guys?
Can I ask one more? I just want to
No,
make sure
go
I get it
ahead.
right.
No, just
So the
discuss it.
motion is, if town council looks at this and says, this is good, it goes forward. If he says a comma's out of place, it comes back, it's no good.
That it's not the motion, it's not the document that's in front of us, and it would require a vote.
Okay.
Because my motion is that we accept it if it is approved by town council. If he changes anything, it's not approved by town council. I mean, I've made motions like that for 13 years.
Gary, would you feel better if Paul added that it would come back to us for any changes?
I mean,
I just want,
Trying to
I just want to,
sort it
I
out.
understand.
I just want to make sure.
no, I just don't understand.
I don't either, that's why I'm asking the question.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, then why don't we just vote on it? How about that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Heard an aye here.
3.
1, motion carries. Okay.
Now, you understand that if town council changes anything, that the document has to come back to us for a vote, because it's a different document from what's in front of us.
Understand.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
One
Thank you.
comma, it's coming back.
I understand. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. All right, item number 8B, Eric Butsky of 53 Fairview Avenue, I think is here. He's requesting permission to hold a block party on Fairview Ave, Eagle Drive. Come on up. So you brought your fans?
Well-behaved
They're
fans.
very well behaved fans. Oh,
I'm sorry.
should we hold off doing that then? Till we do it?
Did you already sign that?
No, this is what we just voted on.
Okay.
Yes, per the chairman, I'd like to request a block party to be held on Eagle Drive. We're looking at September 2nd at this point. I've sent out a flyer to some of the neighbors, or pretty much everybody on Fairview and Eagle. And the responses I have is overwhelming that it looks like September 2nd is the best date. As it's a private area, I have received permission from the owner of the street, that we can block it off and use it in that function.
Let Greg retain it.
Sorry.
I apologize.
Still cleaning up.
We're multitasking.
Greg.
I apologize.
Housekeeping.
Can
Thank
you
you.
hold those?
I will.
Thank you.
We're just making sure we get that,
Yeah.
in
Understood.
case you
I
weren't
apologize.
listening,
Yep.
we're getting it right.
I'm sorry.
No, so,
You have a
I
permission
received permission
from
from the Chisnekis that we are able to use that drive. We're just gonna be blocking off a portion of Eagle Drive, not the entire, from 1 or 2 houses in to 1 or 2 houses back. If you're familiar with the area, it's just a big circle back there. There's no throughway or anything like that, so it wouldn't interfere with traffic.
Who owns the road?
The Chisnekis,
Yeah.
the brothers, they.
Have you had a conversation with them?
Yes. Yes.
And
They said there's not a problem with it, and they're looking forward to it.
how many residents, Mr. Chairman, reside on the street, and does this require consent from any of them? Half of them, a majority, or all of them?
That's a good question.
I don't have an answer, the number of residents there. I know I've received positive feedback from a lot of them, and a couple have said they're not gonna be there anyway, so it wouldn't affect them. I haven't received any negative saying, no, don't do it, or anything along those lines.
So this would be at the four-way, like going to the right, up Fairview
Yes.
to the right?
Yep.
I live on the other end of Fairview.
Oh, do you? Okay.
And so how far up Eagle you're talking?
Just 3 houses up,
Oh,
something like that. So
okay.
no, I mean,
Flat part.
yeah, so the flat area up to the hill on Eagle.
Mr. Chairman, are there any licenses required? Is there gonna be any alcohol, sir?
We're not gonna be serving alcohol, no, sir. I mean,
It's
if
gonna be
if
a
somebody
bring
has a
your own.
cooler that they bring, it's something along that, we're not gonna be serving or
Or any
money or anything like
entertainment?
that.
Any entertainment at all, or?
Just, we'll probably have some music playing or something like that. No live bands, no money to be transpired between, residents saying, dollar admission or something like that. No, it's just basically all the neighbors will bring their own food, cook it on a grill, bring their own drinks, and, we're gonna have games for the kids and
Yeah.
activities for something like that.
And you're not proposing to block public safety at all from getting in and out of there? It's just gonna be partially,
Correct.
just a little bit?
Yeah, just a little bit, so cars won't be going through. There's, like I said, there's not a lot of through traffic anyways. The houses that are there will probably be engaged in it, so if somebody is not, they can go around the other end or what have you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I would, at the risk of being the irritant tonight, I would suggest that we take no vote on this. It's a private road. We're highway commissioners for town roads. They're not requesting a license for anything. They're not gonna be blocking public safety. I would suggest that we don't set a precedent in voting on something like this.
I would chime in on that, and I agree with that. I think that what you should do, and we appreciate you coming in, but since it is a private road, I think what JJ says is right on the ball. If you do it in September, you certainly have time. What I would do is talk with the people that you haven't talked to.
Yep.
All right, and certainly make them aware of it, and then proceed from there, and then if you got any problems, deal with it. I think it's a great idea, but I agree, I don't think we should have a role in this.
Okay. Would you like me to present a listing of the residents and then saying who I spoke to at that point, or is it because it's
I don't
private
think
at
so.
that time? Okay.
I really think that
No, go ahead.
I think that the burden's on the private road residents to keep it,
Correct, that's,
it's not really something that we want to get involved in during the thing or before the thing,
Understood.
especially during or, as an aftermath of it.
But you want to make it clear, it's only open to residents of that road.
Yes, or I was gonna suggest they're invited guests, so, because I did have one person indicate that they may have family that would like to come down and enjoy it with them. So I said that I don't think that's gonna be an issue as long as we don't have the entire town show up, and that would be,
Yeah.
that would be extreme, I think.
Two things is, one, I would like you to let us know when you are going to do it.
Yes.
When you finally decide on a date. Number two, that you have a conversation with the police chief
Okay.
in case people come who have no interest,
Sure.
no ties, and create some issues
Okay.
for you, just to be safe. That's
Also,
it.
also the fire chief as well, just
Yes.
because for
Yeah.
EMS, in case
Just a-
something happens, so he's fully aware.
Okay.
That's easy.
Great idea.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So we're not in the big government, you know. this
No,
is
I
people-
appreciate it.
So,
No, I just following what was advised.
not big
so-
brother, so,
All right.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Public road's a different story.
Yeah.
Thank you for representing your neighbors.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, guys are great.
Yeah.
Very well
Come
behaved.
visit us again.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Good night, Eric. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I want to
Okay.
facilitate some things,
Have at it, Mr.
if
Jones.
you'll allow.
Go ahead.
I'm going to move that we give permission for all three requests by the Board of Health to use the Clarinda Wood Fund. First, the amount of $18 to pay Harrington for Harrington Hospital for services in May. Permission to use the Clarinda Wood Fund for $511.20 to cover the Casella Waste Services for Earth Day, the cleanup, and to use the Clarinda Wood Fund in the amount of $764 for expenses incurred associated with the cleanup and securing of property located at 9 Ridge Drive. And I would like our next agenda to have a notation of the balance left in the Clarinda Wood Fund after these expenses.
Okay, motion by Mr. Joseph,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Sigenovich. Discussion?
Greg?
Board members, I just wanted to make note of the $764 will lien the property, so the town will get that money back. The only
Right.
question is when.
Insurance type thing? or-
No, the home was abandoned, so when the home is sold at some point in the future, there'll be a lien that needs to be
Got
paid
it.
off.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay. Any other discussion? None, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, Paul. Item 8D, Southwest County Communications Center. We have an IMA amendment approval that we tabled from June 19th.
Board members, the Board of Directors at one of their recent meetings voted to recommend these changes to the intermunicipal agreement between Dudley and Webster, which governs the regional dispatch center between Webster and Dudley. So the changes that are before you affect fiscal policies as they relate to timing of the fiscal year and annual budget. So you see that there has been some changes that have been included. And then additionally, an entire new section has been added about payment of prior year fiscal year bills. There's also an additional section, I think, as I mentioned at the last meeting, on governance and how the alternate member is selected. The policy that you see here, the changed policy actually reflects how we've been doing business. So we want the IMA to line up with how the board has been conducting itself over. So I would ask you to approve these.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Joseph.
Greg, do you have any issues with these changes?
Absolutely not.
Okay. I've already seen these in the, I've now started receiving the minutes and the agenda and the budget for the communications center. So I've read these over, and I just wanted to know if Greg had any thoughts on it, and if he's okay with it.
Necessary, Paul. They're very necessary.
Yeah, I mean, they're common sense, really. I would move that we accept the recommendations to the IMA agreement dated June 7th, 2017, as presented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Joseph, seconded by Mr. Ruda. Discussion? Yeah, Greg, I think this is as we grow and learn, we're gonna make, necessary changes like this, so thanks for keeping an eye on that.
Well,
Anything else, guys? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, Greg. Item 8E is to approve the amended pilot agreement between Seaboard and Amp Solar out on West Dudley Road. Greg?
so board members, I've been working with the project developer or the project owner, which is Amp Solar. So remember, the board signed a payment in lieu of tax agreement about a year ago with Seaboard Solar. In that period of time, Seaboard has backed off on the project. They remain as the landowner, but there's been a new developer that has been brought in, which is called Solar MA Project Management. And more importantly, there's been a company that's been involved, which is called the project owner, which is AMP, which is a company out of Canada. So as a result of those changes of different players involved, there was a need to kind of recalculate, or we should say restate the recitals that are here on the first page and a half about who's who, and who has responsibility for what. So I've worked with them on all of these changes. There are a couple of other items that, as you look at the agreement, that got changed that are particularly noteworthy. Number one, the size of the project is a tiny bit smaller. So the original project was contemplated to be 4.4135 megawatts. It's been reduced slightly in scale to, where did I see that? 4.1.
Can you tell us where that is, Greg?
Yeah, I'm looking for it, Paul. I wish I could find it.
Page 3.
4.109.
109.
Megawatts. The reason for that change has nothing to do with the.
Number two.
Yep. Has to do with the fact of the capacity of the acreage to accommodate those number of solar panels. So that's kind of what the math shows. So the town will still average about $61,385 a year for 20 years, or a total of $1,227,687 over the life of the project. That's a little bit
What's
less.
that total again, please?
$1,227,687. It's a 20-year agreement that has not changed. The other items of significance was the project was originally supposed to be completed by December 31st, 2016. It was not completed by December 31st, 2016. The project has been constructed, and so now the new date for completion of construction is July 31st of 2017.
July 31st of what?
2017, end of this month.
You're gonna get it done by then?
Done, it's done. The project has been constructed. The question is they need to get the pilot agreement, the restated pilot agreement put in writing. Things that haven't changed under the agreement, again, 20-year agreement, that at the end, in 2040, there'll be 27 acres of land that's donated to the town when the site is decommissioned. So the land that's being used to generate power, at some point will come back to the town, and the town will have an opportunity to put it to use as it sees fit. The payment termination penalties haven't changed. There was a period of time when one of the players wanted to terminate this agreement and walk away, and we pointed them to the fact that there was termination language in the agreement, that upon payment of $55,168.75, they could go ahead and terminate it, but sending us a first-class letter was not sufficient. So that brought the parties back to the table to negotiate. So this has been something that I've been working on and off on for about 6 months to try to get this agreement in a final format that protects the original agreement that was approved by the Board of Selectmen and adopted by town meeting, but reflects the changes in the players and the size of the project and the completion of the project so that it's ready to go. So I would ask you to approve it, and I am happy to answer any questions that I have in terms of what my knowledge of the whole project is at this point.
So if there's a problem between the two main parties, the solar company and the landowner, we could be victimized by a cancellation if there's a squabble
Yeah.
that justifies it.
Yeah.
So, my question is, do we hold, can we allow, or can we request that if that occurs, I know you've got the termination notice, that we are free then to negotiate with another third party?
So
Can we do that because it's not our land?
here's the way I look at it. These companies want to have a payment in lieu of tax agreement. They want that. So if the players change at some point in the future, this agreement says that it's binding on all future parties. So it doesn't automatically terminate as a result of new people becoming
Okay,
involved.
let me interrupt for a second. Was that same language in the first contract?
Yes, But the problem is, in the first contract, there have been too many changes in the players. Originally, it was an agreement between the town of Dudley and Seaboard Solar. Now we have the town of Dudley, Seaboard Solar, Solar MA, AMP Solar. And we also had a project completion date of December 31st, 2016, that under no circumstances was going to be complete. There was some behind-the-scenes wrangling between those parties that I just named,
Yeah.
excluding the town of Dudley, which resulted in this project being delayed. I'm happy to report the project is back. And,
Okay, and I'm just-
and Paul, the other thing that's substantial, there's a substantial investment. You know the
Oh, I know.
cost of
Yep.
these facilities. The permit fees alone on a project of this size were in excess of $75,000. So when you think about what we bring in for town revenue, and people say, well, the town needs to find creative ways of bringing in money. The building department revenue is usually estimated at about $100,000 a year. Understand that this one project brought in 75% of that payment in one day. So not only will they continue to pay us with money going forward, there was also substantial money. So I don't think people are going to walk away from this thing.
Yeah, I don't object to anything. My only question is, I want to understand that if being binding to subsequent parties, successor parties,
Yeah.
language was in the previous contract, then did that not apply in this case? Or are we still free, even with that language, to make adjustments as we have in this case?
We're free to make adjustments, but the legal team, town,
Yeah.
and the attorneys representing these different entities have decided the best thing to do, rather than going through and submitting a multi-page document that says, change the and to an or and add a comma here, you just basically sign a new agreement which preserves 90% of originally what was there, adds the recitals in terms of who the players are, and changes the key dates and the size of the project, the megawatts changing.
Thank you. And I just wanted to know what the
Subsumed.
impact of that successor language is, and what the freedoms and limitations of that successor language are. That's the only reason I asked those questions.
I mean, I think the language that was in there about termination, really, we didn't think it would help us like that, but it did help us.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you, thank you, Greg. Quick question, so if this is gonna be completed this month, when does this thing get turned on?
Yeah.
Is this- I'm
So
sure
they
there's
get in
a lot of-
they get in the queue with National Grid. So what happens is these projects, when they get completed, they then send a notice to National Grid and say, we're ready to go online. Please commission our facility and turn it on. And so that becomes out of their hands, and we're really a question of when the grid puts it back online. But
Okay.
this thing's ready to go.
Got it. Cool. And I remember that AMP Solar is a much bigger group. I think the other one was small, and it was a big project for them.
AMP has been a good company to deal with.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, there was a question, little bit of a story. There was a question that came up on Friday about whether there was some back taxes that were due on these properties. And again, because there are so many different people involved, it was found out that there was just a little bit under $1,000 that was due. And I found out an hour before the meeting, they went ahead and paid it. So it was a good faith gesture, rather than trying to figure out who's responsible. They knew that it was important to get this agreement signed. They didn't want to delay. They went ahead and paid it, and then they'll deal with the other parties after the fact, but it was paid today.
Okay. Thanks, Greg. And where were we in this?
I would ask the board to approve the amended and restated payment in lieu of tax agreement for the West Dudley Solar Facility.
I'll move that we approve it, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made by Mr. Ruda, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Sigenovich. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, Greg, for your work on that. Item 8F is fiscal year 2017 end-of-year budget transfers.
Is this document part of the packet for today's meeting to the general public?
The transfers
Yeah,
or the?
The transfers?
Oh, sure,
Okay.
sure.
In that case, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move that we transfer a total of $47,571.91 as stated in the attachment to today's agenda, and to transfer that amount of money, $47,571.91, to the 4 accounts listed. I do want to make mention that we are transferring it out of the 6 accounts listed.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Joseph, seconded by Mr. Ruda. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Excellent. All right. Section 9, board member comments.
JJ, start.
Nothing tonight, sir.
Anything tonight? Terry, anything?
Nothing yet.
Okay. Nothing tonight. Paul?
3 things, I think. One is the Blessed Backpack Brigade next meal, which Michelle continues to volunteer for, will be this Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. at the Webster Dudley American Legion at the corner of Lake Street and Houghton Street. Is that right? The meal is free, and focus this meal will be spare ribs.
Spare ribs.
Wow. Yeah, we actually went out and bought 170 pounds of spare ribs. So there's a lot of cows walking around with nothing to hold things in.
We tried they had spares.
Is that beef ribs? Oh, pork ribs. Pork ribs. Pigs, right?
No, these are cows. These are too big to be.
Wow.
They'd have to be ginormous. Of course, I don't know. My wife will call and correct me. All right?
Sounds good.
That's number 1. Number 2 is that we were originally informed by folks in Oxford that they had no homeless. And we suspected that that was not the case, and sure enough, today we received an email from a resident in Oxford. We know who he is, but there's no need to identify him here. And he has let us know about a family that is homeless, that is living in Oxford in the woods. So through him, we're trying to contact them and find out what they have for needs. We understand that there's some health issues involved. And the third and last thing is that later on this week, and Greg will call me if I'm wrong, but it's either this week or next week, I think it's this week, that I'll be meeting with the Superintendent Greg Desto. And after 2 years of efforts and work by a lot of people, we will be starting a new program called Student Hands, Hands, which is an educational effort with the town to complement Dudley Hands. And it still means helping assist the needs of Dudley seniors. It's a program that will start in the fall with yard cleanups. Hopefully it will include throughout the year as needed things that have to be moved that elderly and handicapped disabled people can't move, and then into the winter for shoveling. I'm going to meet with Greg. We're going to work out the specifics. Town council has approved the waiver of liability. It'll be run up at the school, at the high school, but any student in Dudley or Charlton in the regional can volunteer, and they will be able to fulfill their community service requirements, which many organizations, including student government, the National Honor Society, etc., they can receive credit for community services through this program that will start in the fall, called Student Hands.
That's really cool, Paul. Awesome. Thank you. And I have one item. Dudley Women's Club is having their second annual Inspiration Garden Tour and they'd like you to join them to be awed and inspired by our local gardens. And the date is Saturday, July 22nd, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The rain date of Sunday, July 23rd. You need to reserve your place to attend. It's $15 per person for advance registration and $20 per person the day of the event. On the day of the event, you can register and receive tour materials starting at 9:45 a.m. at the Southern Worcester County Educational Collaborative on 185 Southbridge Road, which is 131 here in Dudley. And mail any checks payable to DWC, which is Dudley Women's Club, and your names and email addresses of the attendees to, I'm going to read off the address, DWC Garden Tour, P.O. Box 294, Dudley, Mass. 01571. And if you need any more information on this great event, please email dudleywomensclub@gmail.org, dudleywomensclub@gmail.org, or call 508-943-2477, 508-943-2477. So, Women's Club, second annual Inspiration Garden Tour. Sowing the seeds for community growth. Anything else? Greg?
Nothing
No?
else.
Michael Braniff, anything? Nothing? Okay. We
Motion-
have no departments here today, so we'll,
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
motion by Mr. Sigenovich,
Third.
seconded by Mr. Ruda, thirded by Mr. Joseph. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.